a month into the new Trump administration. On the pre-dawn streets of suburban Maryland, a high-ranking ICE official stood alongside a Mazda sedan that his officers had just stopped. The official told a local TV reporter at the scene what was about to happen. "He can either give us a license," he said, "or we'll smash the fucking window out and drag him out." Then, as the driver refused to exit the car, officers broke the glass. It was one of nearly 50 documented instances of immigration agents breaking vehicle windows that News Pulse has identified from social media, local news accounts, lawsuits and interviews since President Donald Trump took office 6 months ago. Using the same methods, we found just 8 in the previous decade. Neither number is comprehensive. The government releases no relevant statistics. Use of force experts and former immigration and customs enforcement insiders say the tactic was rarely used during previous administrations. They say there is no known policy change green lighting agents smashing of windows. Rather, it's a part of a broader shattering of norms. There are arrest quotas, and they are increasingly aggressive. There's been an emphasis placed on speed and numbers that did not exist before, says Deborah Fleischchaker, who served as ICE Chief of Staff under President Joe Biden. Officers who break glass aren't being disciplined. They're being promoted. The official from Maryland, Matthew Elliston, now occupies a senior position at headquarters and oversees field operations on the East Coast on the other side of the country. A Border Patrol chief who also embraced the tactic, Gregory Bovino, was put in charge of sweeps in Los Angeles. Neither answered News Pulse's questions. ICE says its officers use a minimum amount of force when making arrests. You can judge for yourself. Agents break car windows even when sobbing children or pregnant women are inside. Spokane, Wash, March 10, 2025. She is pregnant. A man yelled as his wife, a U.S. citizen, filmed from inside their Chevy, is pregnant. Officers smashed through 3 windows to arrest Jason Ruiz Rodriguez and his younger brother, Cesar, in early March. The video was not the first under Trump. At least 9 broken windows arrests preceded it this year, some documented by Facebook posts or local reporters or Spanish-language TV. Chelsea, Mass., May 11, 2025. On Mother's Day in the Boston suburbs, ICE and FBI officers stopped a family on their way to church, threatening Daniel Flores Martinez with what the family and a bystander believe was a gun. His 3 children and U.S. citizen wife sobbed in the car. Agents broke the window, forced Martinez to his knees, then slammed him roughly to the ground. One of the children is a toddler. Another is a 12-year-old with severe disabilities. The incident was captured by then high school student Kenneth Santizo, who was nearby waiting for his bus. "All I could hear was kids crying," Santizo said. People reported bloodied faces, bleeding arms and other injuries after agents smashed through the glass. La Puente, Calif., June 26, 2025. Last month, a bystander filmed several masked agents using a baton to break a rear window of a white pickup truck, taking the driver to the ground and pressing his head forcefully into the asphalt. The man, last seen in the video bleeding from the head, has not been identified. Watertown, Mass., May 5, 2025. On a residential street in May, agents smashed through 2 windows of a Ford Focus to arrest the 2 men inside. A neighbor filmed from inside their home as one man, later identified by WBUR as Guatemalan immigrant Kinder Lopez, struggled with masked agents. He had previously been charged with domestic violence but was not convicted. Several of them tackled him on the sidewalk while he screamed for help. The government released no information about the arrest, despite repeated requests from WBUR and News Pulse. At least 10 people have said they were injured this year during broken windows arrests. Cesar Ruiz Rodriguez had an open wound at the back of his head when he arrived at detention from Spokane, Washington, his lawyer said, and X-rays showed glass in the knees of his brother Jason. ICE claimed that the Nicaraguan-born brothers were members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Both men have denied any gang affiliation. We found that the brothers had been accused of threatening a family member, but prosecutors dropped the charges. In Kentucky, agents stopped Martin Rivera and his girlfriend, Jennifer Gribbon, a U.S. citizen, while the agents searched for a fugitive. "You said you're looking for Garcia," Rivera said in a scene the couple broadcast on Facebook Live, "and have since deleted." One of the agents replied, "And I found you instead." Then they smashed through the car's window. Gribbon later wrote on Facebook that she was beaten brutally in my head, and that officers broke Rivera's arm. She pleaded not guilty to charges of resisting arrest and third-degree assault stemming from the incident near Detroit. Masked ICE officers dragged 49-year-old Veronica Ramirez Verduzco, an aide at an assisted living center, out of her car through a window they broke. Ramirez Verduzco still had bloody, jagged scratches up and down her forearms 5 days later, her lawyer said. ICE told News Pulse that agents are allowed to use force when civilians don't follow their commands. But Ramirez Verduzco and others said they were given little time to respond before officers broke their windows. "They didn't give me a chance to understand what was going on," she said in an interview shortly before she was ordered deported to Mexico. Officials claim they target the worst of the worst, but they're breaking windows to arrest people who don't have criminal records. In one case, ICE said a 51-year-old mom was connected to the MS-13 gang. Westminster, MD. March 31, 2025. This spring, ICE arrested Elsie Noemi Berrios after breaking her car window, scattering glass over her patterned dress. Her teenage daughter screamed and cried as she filmed with her cell phone. An officer helped Berrios shake off the glass and step out of the car. "Gracious," she said. Then he put her in handcuffs. After the video went viral and outrage spread, the agency put out a statement asserting that Berrios, a Salvadoran national, was a known affiliate of the violent transnational street gang MS-13. Our review of judicial records, both federal and local, found no criminal history for Berrios and no other evidence to support this claim. This July, in another widely circulated case, officers stopped an Iranian chiropractor and green card applicant near Portland, Oregon. He was on his way to his toddler's preschool. "There is a baby in the car," the man said. They allowed him to continue to the school, then broke a window once the toddler was out. "We found no criminal history for him. Your car is a constitutional gray zone. It doesn't have the same Fourth Amendment protections as homes. You can refuse to open the door of your home if officers don't have a judicial warrant. You can't refuse to step out of your car. The Constitution still limits when officers can use force and how much they can use. But there are no firm rules. Should they shatter windows just minutes or seconds after making a vehicle stop? Should they drag someone through broken glass when they could wait to make the arrest another day? Use of force has to be objectively reasonable," says Bruce Allen Barnard, a retired Fourth Amendment instructor at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Georgia, where ICE officers train. "The problem with objectively reasonable," Barnard says, "is that It's an oxymoron. What's reasonable to you might not be reasonable to me. Immigration officers are given little guidance on whether or how they should breach car windows. Former federal law enforcement officials told News Pulse. The tactic was never prohibited. It was just rare. It isn't mentioned in the government's use of force guidelines for immigration agents. And past instructors and students at the Georgia Training Center say it was never part of the curriculum. Often, civilians whose windows are smashed aren't agents' intended targets. Some are American citizens. New Bedford, Mass. April 14, 2025 in Massachusetts this spring. A tall ICE officer in a trucker's cap swung a sledgehammer to arrest Juan Francisco Mendez, the Guatemalan asylum seeker inside. Officers had stopped the car looking for an Antonio, his wife told the New Bedford Light. Mendez has no known criminal record. He and his wife told officers they were waiting to exit the car until their lawyer could arrive. Before the sledgehammer swung, one of the officers threatened them in broken Spanish. "We can do it two ways. Hard or easy." An ICE spokesperson told News Pulse that the agency concurs with the actions deemed appropriate by the officers on the scene. Rochester, NY, June 17, 2025 in June. A 15-year-old girl and her mother watched as ICE agents stopped a work truck and roughly arrested several men. For the last time. "Are you opening this? Or no?" An officer warned before he broke the glass. "I'm fucking blasting it right now." While the teenager yelled and asked the officers if they had a warrant. The driver turned toward her camera and said he was a U.S. citizen. Early this year, border czar Tom Homan made one of his now familiar threats to a sanctuary jurisdiction, promising to bring hell to the Boston area. To do that, his immigration officers needed help. An ICE press release soon touted its collaboration with a half-dozen other federal agencies, including the Coast Guard and State Department, on a month-long crackdown in the region, dubbed Operation Patriot. The Coast Guard confirmed that it helped transport people arrested on Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. The State Department also confirmed its role. Neither commented further. In May, bystanders filmed in nearby Waltham, Massachusetts, as masked agents from the Drug Enforcement Administration and Homeland Security investigations, along with agents from unidentified agencies, questioned two men parked in a work van. "Show me you're here legally and I'll leave you alone," said one officer, identified on his vest only as federal agent. In the months since, federal officers from other agencies have continued to participate in immigration operations around the country. We don't know who these masked officers are or, often, even which agency they're from, or who can be held accountable. What happens if officers cross the line? Usually very little. Paths to suing federal officers are even more limited than for police officers, making it particularly hard for immigrants to hold officers accountable for any misconduct. "The deck is stacked against them," says Fleischchaker, the former top ICE official. "Even if a judge decides to award damages, that usually won't change what happens, or already happened, in the separate system of immigration court. Evidence of a violent arrest rarely stops a deportation. And if people have already been deported, it won't bring them back." In the instance of the family detained on Mother's Day, they filed a complaint over unlawful and excessive actions. But the father has already been deported to Mexico. The government has not responded to the complaint or to News Pulse's questions about it. A precursor to a full civil lawsuit. The complaint says their 3-year-old now tells people police broke the window and threw daddy on the floor. Settlements in similar cases have been small. A California woman detained by Border Patrol in 2016 after agents broke her car window while her children screamed settled 2 years later for $25,000. When we asked the White House detailed questions about the tactic and specific incidents, it stood by officers